Hello everyone, I'm Kathy Kuntz, the Executive Director of Cool Choices, and I'm delighted you could join me today for this webinar about how employee engagement can accelerate your sustainability efforts. As a bit of background, Cool Choices is a nonprofit. We work with businesses, local units of government, and whole communities to inspire people to adopt sustainable practices. And in the process of doing that, to accelerate local sustainability efforts. In fact, we talk a lot about how engaging employees can accelerate sustainability efforts. And my aim today is to really unpack that, to make it much more transparent to you how employee engagement does indeed accelerate what you're doing around sustainability. So I want to start that conversation with an acknowledgement, and that's that as a sustainability leader, your job gets more difficult every single day. Every time you accomplish an objective, you implement technology to reduce water usage, or you adjust controls to maximize energy savings, it becomes harder for you to find that next incremental win. As you move down this journey of sustainability, it gets trickier and trickier to find the next savings. And what we see in our work is that very often companies are moving down that path and they are achieving great things around sustainability. And usually when they call us is when they get to this moment where they realize that the next big opportunity for them involves a bigger group of their employees. So it's no longer the sustainability lead or the facilities manager or the 8-person green team who can execute the plan to get these savings. They need rank and file employees involved. And often that's when they call us. Actually, it's probably more accurate to say that they realize that they try some things on their own that maybe don't work so well. They very often, folks start out thinking this is an information problem. If we put up some posters, people will do what we want them to do. We've got a number of recorded webinars you can watch where I talk about why that doesn't work and how irrational people are, well-intended but irrational. Or in some cases, the solution is to just yell at people, which also is pretty ineffective. So companies come to us when they're at this moment of, okay, we really need to engage employees. We need a bigger solution. And our ideal for all of our partners is to end up, I always think that our partner at Menasha Corporation, Morgan, put this best, with an entire employee population moving in the same direction. Menasha is a manufacturer of packaging materials, and Morgan talks about what it meant for rank and file people in the organization to understand the sustainability goals, to be proud of those goals, and to be committed to doing their part to achieve those goals. So that's the vision we really want people to achieve, that everyone throughout the organization is part of the sustainability team, that hearts and minds are all in the same spot on this. People are really compelled to do what it takes to achieve those goals. That's sort of the ultimate prize here we want you thinking about how you get to. And I think as you even think about that, you can envision how that's going to make a difference in your own organization. But sometimes people are skeptical. So, you know, I know exactly how we're going to get savings out of building controls or the process improvements we're talking about in our manufacturing process, but I'm not sure rank and file employees make that much difference in our energy use or our water use or our fleet expenses. And so I want to give you a little bit of food for thought on that, about how employee actions matter. We'll start with commercial buildings. So as we become much better at building and maintaining commercial buildings, we talk about these high performance buildings, so buildings with efficient shells, with efficient controls and HVAC heating and cooling systems, state-of-the-art LED lighting. What's left in those buildings, more than half of the energy usage left in a high-performance building is plug load. Let that sink in a little bit. What's left in these buildings is plug load, which is, of course, about all of the occupants of the building. Put another way, this is my favorite stat from a recent study. So a study in Minnesota indicates that the typical cubicle uses about the same amount of electricity as a residential refrigerator. Now, what researchers noted, and this was seventh wave research in Minnesota for the State Department of Commerce, they noted that, increasingly folks have 2 monitors on their desks that are maybe on all the time. There's a proliferation of personal printers and kind of peripheral devices, not to mention the folks who have coffee pots and refrigerators and space heaters. Oh my, it's just like this mini appliance store in some of these. So maybe not surprising that every cubicle is equivalent to a refrigerator. That means there's a lot of opportunity there, but it's about engaging all of those employees. Stepping away from buildings, I would just note that kind of the big dramatic opportunity for a lot of organizations around fleet tied to behavior. And that's, idling is probably the best example of that. There are certainly a number of other driving strategies that reduce fuel consumption, but I know we've done some work with organizations who are on track to save millions of dollars a year because they've implemented better anti-idling practices. So the numbers are there, would be my message to you, that the actions of individual employees really do matter, particularly when you get a bit further down that sustainability continuum and you're out of really easy savings. Those employee actions matter more and more at that point. That as your efforts advance, it's really important that everybody is on the same page about these objectives you've set, these visionary goals of how you're reducing, whether it's energy or water or carbon or fuel consumption. It all comes together there. The other question we get, though, about this sometimes is, yeah, but is it really possible to influence what our employees do? Very often we'll sit down with a green team and they'll listen to me talk about our experiences in various places, and someone will kind of shake their head and go, yeah, it seems like the employees are just more willing to do stuff there because our folks won't cooperate. Nobody here wants to save energy. And very often that's about how it's been presented to them in the past. I typically will talk then about a place where folks were sure that no one would participate in our program, and we saw really good results. I often pick on, did a program a number of years ago with the Milwaukee Fire Department, and firefighters are a little bit notorious for having a certain standard of what they expect of people. And as someone who has never successfully carried anyone out of a burning building, I was at a disadvantage in our conversations initially. But in the end, the firefighters were persuaded and were mobilized much like other organizations. And what I think is important for you to know about this is your employees are more heroic than you think. Most of them, 9 in 10 easy, maybe 10 in 10, are open to opportunities to be part of the solution, would like to be proud of the organization they work for, want to feel like the things they do make a difference. There's a ton of research in this area. This is one stat we like. 8 in 10 millennials tell surveyors that they want to help their organizations be more sustainable. So that's 8 in 10 millennials. Millennials are half the workforce now. The number across all workers is about 7 in 10. So the vast majority of employees would really like to be invited into a solution. They would like to have an opportunity to help their organization be more sustainable. It's really up to you to take advantage of that opportunity. And the most important thing you can do, beyond any of the other stuff I will talk about, is provide clear signals. Be really clear about what people can do to help and how it helps. Focus on the positive and keep reinforcing that. You know, we talk about this a lot, that it needs to be simple and it needs to be straightforward and it needs to be positive. So we believe in a kind of virtuous circle of positive reinforcement. If you have important goals about reducing your organization's waste to landfill, the thing you do to engage rank and file folks, I really encourage you to look for opportunities where essentially you spontaneously catch people doing the right thing and recognize them. Now, recognition can be really simple and trivial. It could be you take a picture and put it on the company intranet. It could be you give someone a sticker for the day that they get to wear and other people don't. What happens, though, is when you recognize someone for doing the right thing, 2 really important things happen immediately. First, other people notice and try to get caught doing the right thing too. So when you recognize Tom, Alice thinks, well, I almost always recycle. I need to make sure that Jane sees me recycle next time. The other thing that happens that's equally important is that when you call out Tom and say he's doing a good job, you've kind of given him this halo that he needs to live up to now. So the likelihood that Tom will continue to recycle is greatly increased by you leveraging that recognition. Really need to think about how recognition is a form of reinforcement. And then, of course, what happens now, you've got Alice doing things too. Recognizing Alice creates this opportunity for other people to see what's going on and seek recognition, and it becomes this virtuous circle where positive reinforcement fuels more and more activity. And it sounds really simple, but in the end, human beings are social creatures, and we crave positive reinforcement for what we do. We're just big children, really. So at Cool Choices, we do this through an online platform. We work with companies and we customize a platform to their needs, and employees join the platform, they form teams, and over the course of a 6-week engagement, they claim points for the sustainable things they do. Essentially, we're giving them recognition. We're in a transparent way where their colleagues can see what they're doing. We're fostering some conversation, and we're then able to deliver some data back to the organization. You, though, can do positive reinforcement today in your organization simply by catching people doing the right things and reinforcing that. And that's a really important thing, that you don't always need the big program to do that, which is kind of crazy for me to say. I'd love for you to do the big program, but you also can do little things that matter right now in what you're doing. So I want to talk about 2 other reasons to engage that also affect how you mobilize and how you accelerate. And both of these are tied to the idea that when you engage, you create a dialogue. So the first thing that happens in that dialogue is you get some new ideas about opportunities in your organization. In our platform, we routinely give people points for suggesting ways their organization can save water or reduce fleet costs. And it's really surprising what kinds of sort of innovative things can sometimes come out of that. One of the things that we see is a lot of employees saying really interesting things around procurement, pointing out waste in how things are purchased in their departments. And sometimes some of that is not very transparent to the sustainability team. So it's uncovering and unlocking new opportunities to reduce costs and landfill waste and all kinds of things. The other thing that comes out of this dialogue, though, is it gives you an opportunity to eliminate mixed messages. What we see is individuals and organizations identifying places that are anomalies. So well, the participant in an organization with let's say a strong commitment to reducing their water usage, a participant might note that, well, the women's room on the 3rd floor there's a toilet that's been running for 2 months. And now, in the big scheme of if this is a manufacturing facility and they're using water in their process, that toilet is pretty small in the big scheme of things. But for employees, it's a sore thumb. It's this very visible, I see it several times a day, I hear it several times a day, reminder that we're not really serious about this water goal that we've got. Having a way for employees to engage with you and tell you about those things that they think are anomalies. We say we're committed to this, but we do this. My favorite is always when they say, but the sprinklers run in the rain here. Stuff that makes people crazy and makes them doubt those bigger objectives. So you want an engagement process that helps you engage people and really see, okay, where are we sending mixed messages and how do we eliminate those messages? For a little bit more on all of that, we did a white paper recently on the kinds of input we get back from employees about opportunities in their facility, and you can download it at our website under the resources tab, I believe. Really, though, I want to kind of close things and open it up for questions, just kind of with this really strong push to you that there are numerous reasons to engage your employees. You can get savings you couldn't get otherwise. You can help the employees feel really good about the organization. You can open a dialogue that lets you get further than you've gotten otherwise. And you can motivate hearts and minds to be all moving together with you on this quest. You just have to invite them into the process. So that's my pitch about employee engagement for you today. If you've got questions, there's a question box there on the GoToMeeting tab on the side. It might be closed. You'd hit the orange arrow to open it, and then you'd be able to type in a question, and we'll give folks a couple of half a minute or so here to type in some questions if you've got them. I'm glad to address those. Otherwise, you'll note here is my email. You can certainly email me later if you've got something that you'd rather talk about offline. A question about how to really make employee engagement work, how to get questions from or feedback from people if that hasn't been very welcome in the past, which is a great question. I was at a conference last week and talked to a number of sustainability leads who talked about how hard it is to be mindful of these suggestions coming from rank and file staff, because sometimes they're really off track with what the goals are, and there's a lot to do there. Sometimes it certainly feels like you could spend all of your time just responding to employee ideas. So it's a little scary maybe to think about how you engage folks. the response I would give you there is, as I said to those folks last week, part of what you want to do is ensure that people are heard and then help them understand where kind of their issue is in the context of things. So it's reasonable to say, wow, you're raising a really good point about our water usage. Right now, we're really focused on cutting our energy use by X%. But in 3 months, we'll be revisiting our priorities going forward, and I'll definitely bring your idea to the team as a possibility for us going forward. So giving people somewhere to make that possible. So then someone's got a question about access to our program platform. Certainly if you go to our website, you can schedule a demo of our system. So we typically are partnering with businesses and local units of government on specific initiatives. We're customizing the platform to their needs and then rolling it out for them and providing them with the data from their engagement. We also do some community scale work kind of consistent with that. We're right now running a county-wide program in a county. So that's how you would access that. And it looks like those are all the questions we've got today. We like to keep these webinars short. We know how full your agenda is. You will get an email from us with a recording if you want to share it with someone else. And again, feel free to reach out to me with any questions. I'm happy to respond to those. Thanks so much for joining us today. I really want, can I go back a slide here successfully? Really want to close by again encouraging you to think about how you engage your workforce, make them part of the solution on your sustainability efforts. I know you won't regret it. Thanks so much for joining me today. Bye.